4. It's a Labour host with Conservative.
We're not any.
Establishment.
Oh, really?
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the British Agenda. I'm your host WadgerBadger, and joining us tonight we have got 4K DVN Albert P. Grantham and leader of the Conservative Party Eddie, and I forgot what role he was. We've got Rob Stark joining us tonight. Pretty hefty panel we've got. So the news this week, we have had resignations, appointments, a lot of stuff going on. So let's just get down to business. Now we will start with the removal of Callum Truss from the Conservative Party, as well as the resignation of Organised Owen. So I'll ask you, Mr. Mega Minor, as leader of the Conservative Party, what do you have to say about this? Why has Callum been removed, and why do you think Owen's resigned like this so suddenly?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on your show. It's great to be here. And I just want to say, if I can bring you all back to the 1980s under the administration of Margaret Thatcher, she had a system known as the wet and the dries in her cabinet. The wets being those who couldn't stand being a politician, those who didn't have the mettle, those who didn't have the backbone to do it. And the dries being those who could. And I have to say, this exact same concept applies here as well. And quite frankly, all we're doing is pruning the hedges, so to speak, and getting rid of those who aren't strong enough to be in my party when we win the next general election.
Well, that's great. Do we have any other opinions from anyone else on the? We'll sat to either side of me tonight.
I have an opinion.
Let's hear it.
Mr. Badger, I'd just like to confirm that Organised Owen did not resign. He was sacked beforehand. However, due to us going on this show, we couldn't post a statement in time, but it was drafted before. So I just wanted to correct the record. He was sacked before he resigned.
Right, now that is quite interesting to hear then. So he was sacked, so he's resigned quite quickly then to avoid making it look like
that's
he
exactly
maybe
what
wasn't
happened. Trying to avoid the shame of being a wet.
The shame.
May the audience be told as to why he was sacked?
He was sacked because... Oh, no, Eddie, you can go.
No, please go on. Please.
No, I insist, Eddie. You're the leader.
Oh, thank you. Oh, you're too kind. He was sacked simply because there's better options for MPs, there's better options for people in his position. And, I've always believed in having a streamlined party, having a party which works for the British people. And quite frankly, Owen just wasn't fitting into the equation. So unfortunately, we've had to let him go. But there was a time where people of his caliber would have been welcomed into the Conservative Party with open arms. But this is a new age, and it's an age of competence, and it's an age of professionalism, the likes of which hasn't been seen in a long time.
All right. I'd just like to give. I've just been told. Please, can we have a shout out to Scott Cork, the worst dev in Project Britannia and Roblox history? So yes. Anyway, Mr. Grantham yesterday at Prime Minister's Questions, it was revealed about the scale of how the technicality of business being booming in the UK and how this booming private sector is actually just a few people registering many businesses with the chief executive of Companies House having 11 companies, was it? Correct me if I'm wrong. And then the Chancellor denied that anything was being monopolised. The government laughed the opposition out of Parliament that day, saying that there was complete untruths, just an inverted pyramid of piffle, as one man said. And then today we saw a statement from you about how, direct quote, the Chancellor can claim that business is booming, but all he wants is most of the companies being registered or all being owned by the Companies House staff who are doing it themselves. And most of these companies are ineffective, have no proper use. And there's lots of issues of there's pardon me, the power from the staff at the Companies House and the government can choose to ignore all these issues, and they laugh in the faces of people who want to actually own businesses without the fear of corruption or nepotism, or solve this issue and ban these staff from owning businesses while working as a registrar. That's what you said. And we had the government, as I said already, denying these claims, laughing the opposition out of Parliament. It was crazy. So what do you have to say about exactly the denial from the government that there is any monopolisation of business at all, that it's a free market, that nothing's gone wrong?
Well, listen, first of all, in my statement, I was not attacking people owning multiple businesses. I was attacking the fact that registrars, the people that are in charge of deciding who owns businesses, who registers businesses, can register their own businesses. And that creates a situation where, yes, they can start monopolizing their own businesses, because if they see a potential competitor coming into their field, they could decide through any means they want to not register them. That's the danger. I'm not saying that these staff are currently doing that, but that is the danger. And for the Chancellor to say that's a non-issue when it was brought up, and for the Chancellor to say that registrars, Companies House staff registering their own companies is a non-issue and potentially monopolising that market, it's just ridiculous to me. I think there needs to be strong rules in place so that when you're working in Companies House, you are not using that position in your own favour, and for your own gain. So, I mean, the companies that are being registered, I mean, they're just irrelevant, like water companies, but the chief registrar himself, he's registering finance companies, which will be important. I believe he registered the post office, if I'm not mistaken, the Royal Mail, something like that. And I think he also registered I think they're both registering authorities to regulate these businesses as well, which is unethical and borderline corrupt. So I don't. I just think. I just think when you look at it like that, it just shouldn't be allowed. And the chance of not having any action on this just shows how weak his government is when it comes to the economy.
I mean, would you say, with all these businesses being registered left inactive, I mean, the government did say at Prime Minister's questions yesterday that it's fine because these businesses are inactive. But do you not agree with the statement that I totally didn't make myself, that these businesses being registered and inactive isn't a good thing, but it prevents people who want to have their own active business being able to register their own?
It just shows the government will happily mislead the people and claim that business is booming when, not everyone will look at the facts. Everyone will just see what the government's saying and take it as fact. We've proven that it's not, and it's not all roses and I mean, if you took away all the business being registered by the company's house staff, you'd have what? Like 80% of the business would be like wiped out. So I can see why the government aren't doing it in a way, because they want to look good. They want their stats to be good. They can say they registered so and so amount of businesses, but now the public know this is not the case, and they should not take whatever the government say about businesses from now on at face value, because it's not true.
So, would you agree with the statement that all these businesses being registered and being allowed to just sit there inactive is blocking the free market from thriving?
I believe it's blocking people who are honest, hardworking Britons from owning their own company because of the fear of nepotism and corruption. That's what I said in my statement. That's what I'll continue to stand by.
All right, that's great to hear, Albert P. Grantham. Great statement. Whatever. Anyway, on to the next bit of news for this week. Now, this may seem a little self-centered, but we had the Labour leadership election, highly contentious. I definitely knew nothing about that. So we had this very closely. It was a tight race between Definitely Not Me and Dragon Does Pizza, otherwise known as Astra or Adrian or Irish, man of many names. So we had this really tight competition, and we had Doc Henderson, the poor guy in last place with 1 vote, and he's after the election now gone to Britain First as Work and Pensions Minister. And then we had Adrian coming in with 6 votes, and then me coming in with 7 votes. So, I mean, some may say this programme is biased when you've got the Labour leader as the host, but I'm sat between 4 Conservative officials, 2 of which are in the leadership. So, take that how you will. Anyway, I'd like to know all your opinions about the leadership election and where WadgerBadger has taken Labour so far. It's been 1 day. We've seen a completely almost new list of MPs and a cabinet formed. I'd like to see you guys' take on this and how we haven't heard anything publicly on if Labour are continuing the confidence and supply, because I definitely know nothing about any of this.
I will not be answering any questions on the Labour Party. It's not my field.
Will there be anyone taking any statements on that?
The Conservative Party does not concern itself with matters of other parties.
Very true.
It does concern it with a burger and chips that I do now have. Thank you.
Oh, that's great to hear. I mean, personally, I've got a salad in front of me right now, so that's times are changing. I've gone from pizzas to salads.
Who's
Anyway,
that guy?
Hold on, there's a guy in. Anyway, guys, so the next bit of news. So let's just go through this. And I mean, sometimes there's a lot of stuff, sometimes there's very little. I mean, things have been going quite slow this week. I mean, we saw the many governments fall for April Fool's jokes on Monday about wars occurring, when apparently no one took the time to look to the bottom right of their screens and see it said the 1st to the 4th, 2024. So what's your guys' thoughts on this? How the government so easily, they took the April Fool's joke and thought it was a genuine war that was forming? I mean, despite all the obvious signs in the UN that it was completely fake.
Well, I think
honestly. Oh no, please go.
No, Eddie, I insist.
Oh, you're too kind. Anyway, as I was going to say, I think I could probably cut the government a bit of slack when it comes to this. They're an inexperienced government. So a lot of them don't really know the ins and outs of running a country, so it's easy for them to fall for these common tricks and mistakes that befallen governments in the past. Can I say I would have fallen for those same things? Probably not. I mean, I was Prime Minister of ZGK during April Fools, and I was just shrugged and moved on. You know what I'm saying? And I probably would have done exactly the same. So I think it comes with experience, learning to be resilient to these things, and obviously there's a lack of it.
Right here. Pardon me. So we've had a question from a member of the public already, from Dean Marston, who the chat went along like this: shout out to Dean, new cabinet secretary. And then he said, please speak about my appointment, silly man. And he wants to ask the Conservative leader, Mega Miner, what he and his colleagues on the show right now, what they want to see from the civil service in future with his appointment. I can imagine that there'll be no comment on this, but if anyone has any, then go for it.
Speak on this to my dear friend Dean Marston, and what I want to see from the civil service is a cabinet secretary who hopefully won't leave the group again at a moment's notice. Wadger, he did it before in my administration, and he did it before when he was the Shadow Defense Secretary, and I hope he doesn't do it again, because quite frankly, he's an asset to this community. I'm glad that he's back, but I would just like to urge him to remain in the community, and I know he's a great asset, so I look forward to seeing what he'll do in the civil service.
Right, that's great to hear. Hold on, I've just got a question. Are you not going to talk about 3 more royals being born? There were 3 royals born this week.
Who fucking cares?
Exactly.
Who cares?
It's fine. They'll grow up in a day. Look, 1 minute they're.
I'm sure that Lego fetus held the babies really well. Now can we move on?
Yeah.
Who cares?
And it's hard to think that in the. Hold on. Does that mean, like, canonically they've had Lego sex? I don't want to think about that. Right, we're moving on.
That's quite a PG-13 topic for this show.
Well, actually, that brings me to the next topic. There don't seem to be any regulations regarding all the media going about. I mean, we've seen a massive increase in the amount of media companies.
How about we discuss the rampant toxicity that we saw in the Labour campaign? How about that? Because I think what we saw during that leadership campaign was shocking. The amount of attacks between Labour candidates that went personal, I think it was disgusting. I think Labour have a lot to answer for doing.
Yes.
Well, while I'm on this show, I'm impartial. While I'm on this show, I'm impartial. I'm meant to be questioning you. You're putting me in rather stressful situations. I mean, I should probably just go to a newspaper and talk about it anyway. Anyway. So, media. Yes, media. We've seen a massive increase in the amount of newspapers and overall.
And none of them reported on on my statement today, and I'm very disappointed that the media and the press did not report on this important topic. But
I got attacked by the DCMS head of Ofcom when I tried to register my media company.
Is there an Ofcom? Because I've seen nothing about it.
Yeah, there's a chairman of Ofcom, and I got brutally attacked by him.
Is the chairman of Ofcom the only person in Ofcom?
Yes, I believe so.
Chairman of what then? Himself?
Yes.
Ofcom. He only runs Ofcom.
Who's in Ofcom?
No one. He's the only part of Ofcom.
I mean, when we've got such a massive...
The government have had, they've been in government. They've been in office now for, I'd say a considerable amount of time, and we still see these things such as the Ofcom head acting immaturely. We see stuff like the chief executive of Companies House registering 11 businesses. So we see a lot of incompetence, and I just think that something needs to be done about this. The non-executive departments, such as Ofcom, such as Companies House, aren't normally given the same amount of attention as the bigger departments, such as the Met. But I feel like more attention needs to be put on these, because these are the people who are running our country on a day-to-day. These are the people who are registering our businesses, registering our news companies, and yet they fall short of expectations. And I think something should really be done about it.
Great to hear, Mr. Megman. I mean, just to say as well, the government have been in for, I believe, 2 weeks now. So, as Harold Wilson said, something about a week in politics being a long time. I didn't want to misquote him because I couldn't remember the actual words, but it was something along those lines. But he was a lefty, so I guess you guys didn't like him anyway. So, Anyway, does the Conservative Party... pardon you. Does the Conservative
Oh,
Party have
Dan, you've
any?
been registered.
That's probably them watching this broadcast right now. Anyway, does the Conservative Party have any plans regarding sorting this whole there's a lack of regulation regarding media right now because you can get lots of bias, lots of crap in the media that you don't want to see, and sometimes it's really funny,
Well-
but then they shut it down.
Oh, Wadger, I'm going to speak in a more broad sense, and I'm sure Eddie will agree with me. Big things are coming to the Conservative Party. Big
Indeed,
announcements, big changes,
Massive.
big
12
shocks. Big shocks are coming to the
Listen,
Conservative
I
Party.
want to say what we're doing to the Conservative Party now, which is simply streamlining our structure, streamlining our processes, is exactly what we're going to do to this country when we get in office. Because the bigger the government, the worse it is, quite frankly. And what we want to do is streamline business registration, streamline media registration, streamline every single thing that we have the ability to change. Because, quite frankly, this nation is bloated in a number of ways, and I feel like we could roll back the state and really just bring in a new era of British prosperity.
Theo, you got anything to add? Got anything to add, Theo, to that? Want to get Theo
Couldn't
involved more? Come on,
agree more,
come
really.
on, Theo. Come on, talk, please.
I don't have anything to add.
Yeah.
Shame.
Right, well, in a few minutes' time, this is going to be interesting because you will be saying we're going to be joined by the Prime Minister himself, Skype. So I can imagine we're going to be seeing a bit of lively debate. So, before he comes on, any comments to make about while he can't argue back? Anyone?
Hopefully he doesn't bring his disgusting perfume because it stinks up the Commons. So, no.
Actually, claiming that
agree,
the
I
Prime
agree.
Minister wears disgusting perfume.
Well, that's what they say.
Well,
Are you
Oh,
saying
but
that
I've got
people
to
who
ask.
can't afford good perfume shouldn't be near politicians? Deputy leader.
Yes.
I've got to know
Interesting.
what cologne, aftershave, what fragrance do you guys wear?
Body odor.
Chanel number 5.
Next question.
Link to Africa.
Theo.
Your natural sense, then. I mean,
Yeah.
Actively
Or
don't
getting up in
shower.
those nutrients, bro. Getting up in those nutrients.
I mean, that is great to hear. And we are, like I said, we're going to be joined by the Prime Minister just a second when he walks round to the table. So, literally, anything
Hello,
else to
guys.
discuss while we fill time.
I don't like his trim.
Yeah, me neither. You should get a new trim, honestly.
You
mean-
need to get a fresh cut.
He's looking like that ice cream. You know that ice cream that you could get where it was like vanilla and chocolate. That's what his hair looks like. You know.
I mean,
Bro,
it
should we
is
give it?
reasonable. I mean,
Wait, Prime Minister, do you want my seat? Because
No, he doesn't deserve a seat. He doesn't deserve a seat.
no, because it only makes
He
sense.
is
No,
Rosa
it's mine. I
Parks.
don't even have a seat.
Oh, I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean it like that.
whoa,
But I didn't mean it.
Oh,
I didn't mean it like
right,
that.
anyway, you can unmute now, Sky, because, well, in a second, because we're going to be going to a commercial, you know.
In
commercial.
5, 4, 3.
Back to the British Agenda, joined by Prime Minister Sky Quay. So, Sky, welcome to the show. I'm understood that you wanted to join last week when we had Albert on, but we didn't have enough time to fit you on. So,
think
it's great. It's great to have you here. So surrounded by 4 Conservative members and then the Labour leader. So, let's start by actually, I think instead of taking this completely seriously, how about we talk about the fact that we've literally essentially got a leaders debate here. So the government, it did make a bit of an oopsie on April Fools regarding the foreign affairs and any wars that may be occurring. So what do you have to say about this little whoopsie that you made?
First and foremost, the aggression started by 2 countries was started 2 days prior to April Fools. As far as I'm aware, April Fools is on the 1st of April, so anything before that shouldn't really be part of an April Fool's joke. While people can see it as a sort of mistake by the government, I see it as a way, as us responding correctly and us responding in a way that we should to rising international tensions. And it was really a test to allow us to see how our British Armed Forces would respond, how our diplomatic corps would respond, and overall how a government would respond to rising international tensions. And I think we learned a lot from the incident. I'm glad it was an April Fool's joke, because under no circumstances do I ever want to see this country in an armed conflict. But I think we learned a lot from it. While people could see it as a mistake, I personally don't. I see it as a learning curve.
Great to hear. So I've got a massive headache right now, so I just need to cool down for a second. So, the biggest issues we've seen so far for your government this week, the biggest, say it's a bit of a test that you're facing right now, is regarding, I'm gonna say it, the M word, monopolies. Someone thought I said the N word. No. I mean, Ofcom may be a little quiet, but I'm sure they're watching right now. So, monopolies. We saw an issue raised at Prime Minister's questions yesterday regarding the ownership of 11, I believe it was 11 companies by the chief executive of the Companies House, and how a lot of essential services, even when they don't matter in legal land, about like water, electricity, and finance, as the deputy leader of the Conservatives pointed out earlier. And in response to this, at Prime Minister's questions, you said that most are inactive, so it's fine. But then earlier, we discussed how these inactive companies, they take up space, and they still serve as someone having their own personal monopoly over a part of the market, and they're preventing new businesses, which may be more active, from registering because the name may already be taken. So, and as well, your Chancellor and the MPs on your bench yesterday, they were denying these claims, calling us supine invertebrate jellies,
supine protoplasmic invertebrate jellies.
Mr. Protoplasmic part, thank you. And I said earlier they were treating it like inverted pyramids of piffle. So they're denying that a monopoly is being formed at all, that there's an issue here at all, when there clearly is. I mean, today we saw the statement from the deputy leader of the Conservatives about it, and how the Chancellor may have even been personally ordering these businesses to be made to just make it look like business was booming. So, I mean, it's essentially falsifying, borderline falsifying the data, isn't it? So what do you have to say about this? Your Chancellor forcing businesses through, them denying there's a monopoly at all, the opposition reaction to it. What do you have to say about all this?
First and foremost, I can only deny the fact that this government has been forcing businesses to register. Under those circumstances, is that something we'd want? We would never want to mask figures, would never want to forge figures. In regards to monopolies, myself and the Chancellor have been working on policy regarding such. We have announced a policy today ensuring that only 10 companies can be held by one holding company at once, and an individual can only hold a single holding company at one time. But personally, I feel that if this massively exaggerated mountain out the molehill situation is all the opposition has to scrutinize me on, I think that, I'm really lost for words. I mean, it's something so, in the grand scheme of things, insignificant.
Hold on a second. No, so, like, you don't want to really. You don't see the treasury in the company's house as really important. You don't see the market as important.
We do
I mean,
see.
No, because this could open up the door for like a Lego economy, which this has only appeared a few times in very few UKs. When you have the right people and the right businesses the right way, you see like a massive burst, like an actual genuinely booming economy, and you can get it to work in game. And you're saying that this is insignificant. Does that mean
Roger, I'll hold you there.
are your priorities in the wrong place?
Roger, I'll hold you there. We currently do not have a game, so there can be absolutely no plan for an economy thus far, because we don't understand how an economy would work. We don't understand how a game would function. So as of right now, we can really just take things as they come, and we
have London. We have a game where we got Parliament Square. Even just slap down a job fair there. Businesses can advertise in game. What's the issue with that? Just get the devs to get a free model tent, set up some signs. Easy. It's not rocket science.
I think the last time London was active was 4 weeks ago, if not longer.
Right,
we'll
just try the job fair in advance.
And to be fair, it is very laggy on London.
It's London's a horrendous game. It's a free model. Well, not a free model. It's a stolen map. It's been circulated through thousands of.
Everyone has the BUK map. But
yes,
listen. Why not speak to developers about possibly cutting out a bit of like just empty space in game? And like I said, setting up some tents.
I can assure you, we've been in talks with developers about releasing the new map, which
I'm sure you have, but you're making the problem sound more difficult than it already is.
Oh,
I'm not right. Okay, I'm not intending to make the game be a big issue. I think.
But it's your only argument for defense against the entire issue of companies being inactive right now. When inactivity is it's not even because we don't have job fairs in game. It's because people are just registering companies left, right, and centre because they can.
Is that not a good thing? The ability for
not when they're inactive, Prime Minister. No, that's the whole point of what I'm asking you. I mean, are you and the Chancellor not going to be holding some sort of an inquiry into this and how you can work to actually solve this issue?
I'd bring you back to the point I made earlier. Without a game, you cannot have a flourishing private sector. We already see a flourishing media sector, and that's because the media have the capacity to operate. We see other sectors which are getting active, such as the Royal United Services Institute, but that has the ability to operate over Discord. Games with companies which require in-game capabilities, such as stores, such as services, such as just other companies which require in-game. We must wait for a game to be released before we can implement them. And I can assure you now, and I can assure the country, as I've pledged to do, that once we have the capabilities to implement them, this government will aid in their implementation and ensure that business owners can have their companies operate in game, and they can prosper in game, thus contributing to what you called the economy.
Well,
I'd like to hear responses.
Wadger, shush.
Please. Prime Minister, can I just ask you then, if after saying all of this, would you say it was wrong that the Chancellor said business was booming within the private sector?
I mean, business in regards to certain sectors, the media sector, that is booming. There is a lot of companies being registered. There's some sectors which, of course, waiting on a game, but once the game is released, then we can certainly implement them. And as far as I'm aware, we have the foundations to create a true prosperous private sector. And is that not booming business?
You have the foundations. You're not taking advantage of them, Prime Minister.
Roger, if you actually sat back and listened to what I'm saying, we cannot implement them without a game.
But I've seen many businesses which say they need a game thrive without one across UKs. I mean, it doesn't always come down to a game either way. I mean, as well, I'd like
Roger, you say you've seen them in UKs. Please give some examples. I'm gonna call your bluff here. Please give me some examples.
ZUK. That's the most
Okay.
prime example of how you had
And
people.
what
give it a
companies?
business example.
Business examples, Wadger. I'm going to call your bluff here.
I mean, I don't have the exact names because
Thank you, Wadger. Thank you, Wadger. Right,
yes,
we
but
move
you're
what
trying to
about-
deflect your own. You're trying to avoid the
Oh,
question
guys,
entirely, and now you're
guys,
reflecting it back
guys.
on me.
I'm not
Guys,
trying
we all
to-
just, like, get
I'm
along,
not trying.
guys.
Right, Wadger. I'm not trying to.
Right,
deflect
let's
any
just move
question.
on. Okay, you're
Hold on.
chancellor.
Mr. Prime Minister,
Yeah.
how would you implement water companies and water regulation authorities into a game? Because Mr. Findog has registered,
Like 500
About-
water companies, yeah.
yeah, he's registered
Going more-
about 10
also-
water companies.
Your chief whip has tabled legislation about firearms usage within ports. Is your government going to be supporting that legislation since he is the one who owns all the ports?
Oh.
It's not a government bill, therefore it's not going to be party whipped. It's an individual member's bill. It's not on our government agenda. The government has better things to deal with than a bill like that. Members.
So
within
the
our party-
chief- so the
Maybe
chief
you could
whip-
tell-
so the
maybe you
chief
could
whip
tell the
who
government
whips
chief whip to
bills-
actually show up to Parliament because we haven't seen him in a long time, and all he's been doing instead is registering ports and writing legislation about them. When really, doesn't he have a job to do?
Eddie, I
Right.
don't think the
whipping
Conservatives want to talk about activity in Parliament.
Prime Minister, you can say that when you have 27 seats. We have
Prime
10.
Minister,
There's a-
Prime
We
there's a-
have
Oh!
16
like-
seats.
Oh!
We
Prime
have
Minister, do you not
16
believe it's
seats.
more about action, not activity?
It's what, sorry?
Do you not believe it could be more about action, not activity?
This government has taken action in every sector. This government has.
If you were
managed,
taking
but-
the proper action, I don't believe you'd be grilled like this on the TV show.
Even building stand.
I mean, as well.
Mr. Prime Minister, how will you implement with these water companies?
Yeah, let's go back to the topic at hand, Wadger. Stop going off topic. Let's go
Okay,
back to the topic at hand. How
right.
will we implement
God.
water companies and ports?
What water company? Actually, that reminds me.
What is
If-
a water company?
Wadger, I
Yeah,
don't
well-
care what it reminds you about. I want the answer to my question.
Can we drink water in
I think it's a good question, Wadger. I think we're taking over your show for a bit. I think that's a good question. How will we, as a nation, implement water companies and ports?
Well, we can't implement water companies in ports.
Then why don't you
You're
deregister
saying
them?
water's not real.
Why don't you ban? Why don't you ban? No.
Water's not real. No, I agree
In
with the
case we
Prime
got
Minister.
Nestle on the show, just
hang
to
on.
my right.
Wadger, shut up.
Roger, you say why don't we deregister them? Does that not undermine the principles of a free market? where
Hold on,
people
but you
can
just
register
hold on, you
companies as
basically
they
just
will?
said that they're useless, so why not get rid of them?
I agree
Well,
that they're
why-
useless, but I disagree that we shouldn't deregister them. I think
Like,
if
they're
they're
not,
taking
they're
up
not
space,
causing any harm by being registered.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, then why don't you like redirect their purpose into something that could actually be useful instead of just LARPing all the time?
Roger, I'm not going to force someone who wants to have water companies, then go and force them to do something else. That's completely crude.
Right, okay. Then.
Wadger,
But
are
why-
you proposing an authoritarian government style?
Hey! I'm the questioner.
Are you
here.
proposing
You're not really
I'm-
the question.
I'm
You're
the
not really the
proposing-
questioner, are you? You've
Are you
been
proposing
dominating
a
this debate.
Chinese managed
Let
economy,
us talk,
Wadger?
please.
Hey, I am the interviewer here.
Anyone
I
who
don't-
tuned in right now would say you're the one arguing in this debate. Please,
Yeah,
allow
innit?
us to talk.
Let the debaters debate. Let the host. Like, you know.
Yeah, honestly,
Okay, fine.
if
right,
you want to
right.
host your own show, why are you on the air, man? Like, please.
Because Charles asked me to. Anyway, should we go back? Should we just backtrack a bit? Go to the original question then. I'll take that as a collective. Yeah.
The original question about water companies was answered, was it not?
No.
Yeah.
Let's go
Wait,
back.
no,
No, I
hang on.
said
No, I've
backtrack a bit
got
further.
a question to go back to the Alan's bill just for a
I'm
second.
more than happy to answer it.
All right, cheers, Dan. His cabinet position is chief whip, or am I wrong?
Mhm. It is.
So surely the chief whip, his own bill is not getting whipped. It's kind of mad, don't you think?
Well, he's a member of parliament. He has all the right. He has every right.
He's also a member of
introduce-
government, Prime Minister.
He is,
Ah.
but he has, as a member of parliament, he has the right to introduce individual members' bills, which are not related to the government.
But if you're not going to openly endorse it, and he's a government minister, surely that's it's a bit that shows a few. Did he even consult you on this bill? No.
I mean, he consulted me, and I told him, as I'm telling you now, that he is free to propose that as a member of parliament. It does not need to be government whipped. The
Can we
government.
expect your resignation, Prime Minister?
No, no, you can't.
No! Oh, we really thought we had you there.
Damn it. This whole thing-
Imagine he just resigned on the show.
Resigns over port and water company.
I can no longer continue in this job. Water companies are too stressful. Thank you.
Findog's head made the Prime Minister resign.
What else can we talk about?
Hayden forcing the registration of all these companies.
I
just
turned around and said, Wadger, that is completely ludicrous. That has not happened.
Oh well, I weren't listening then. Anyway, I was probably too busy
Mr. Prime
eating.
You're not
Minister.
listening to the
You're not
government,
listening,
Badger
yeah.
Badger, and yet you're trying to scrutinise them. Is that what's
I'm
happening
just trying
right
to
now?
eat my salad and ask questions. I would like no
You
further
think eating
questions.
salad's more important than holding the government to account, Mr. Badger Badger? Have you already lost grip on your holds?
Oh god, this is getting pretty tense here, guys. I think we should go to another question.
Please
Mr.
do.
Prime Minister,
Please
Yeah,
do.
please do. And stop talking over it this time, Wadger. Let us answer this. one.
Okay, I'll ask a question. Actually, no, do you have any more questions yourselves?
I've got a question for the
It's
Prime
not a
Minister.
show, mate. Come on.
It's like extended
Earlier-
interviews.
Earlier today, the Chief Registrar of Companies House announced that he was talking to the Chancellor of Exchequer about setting the maximum amount of companies someone can own to 5. Surely that's a compromise in the free market of this country.
Well, I'd like to correct the record and correct the Viscount. There are, in fact, 10 companies which can be owned under a single holding company, as well as 4 other subsidiary companies alongside that. This is just to prevent people mass registering businesses, but it also allows an adequate amount of businesses to be registered to ensure that
Doesn't
people
seem like it's
can
started.
register
I've got-
freely.
I've got one final question.
It's funny
on
that the number
on
happened to
point.
be 10 when the Chief Registrar owns 11. Like,
It don't seem to be limiting the registration of business for
you know,
individuals.
like,
On
surely he has a
data
vested
did you
interest in
base
this.
this
You
on?
just admitted that he just failed at what it was meant to do then.
What? No.
But,
How's
but it hasn't stopped people mass registering them.
Can we expect the privatisation of Companies House?
No, right. Roger. When
If we're going to have essential services like water and all that, then does that mean that the government's supporting privatising essential services?
All right,
Is that
Roger,
an
you're
official-
going- hang
is that
on.
an
Can we
official
go back?
written
Can we
purpose?
hang on? Can I go back to my original question before you start saying retarded questions like this, Roger?
Absolutely.
Can I just ask the Prime Minister, because I haven't really seen an official government statement on what I said. Do you believe? Do you personally believe it's morally wrong for registrars to register their own companies at Companies House? What do you personally believe?
I personally believe.
Yeah.
But it's not really about what I personally believe. It's more what the government stance is. Right now, we're working alongside the chief executive to come up with policy regarding that, and so this government will announce once this policy has been taken alongside the government's official stance. I think it's immaterial what I personally believe. It's really what the Chancellor believes, and I'm happy to back the Chancellor.
I know you probably won't answer this, but would the government consider a ban on registrars owning and registering their own businesses? Would that be under consideration, or are you ruling that out?
I can't rule it out now, and it's definitely one option that we will consider. However, like I said, this policy is currently in the talks alongside with the government, alongside top civil servants, and the policy which is decided will be announced to the public in due time.
Okay.
Right, I've really quickly got to get a water. I've really got to get a water quickly. So do you guys want to just hurl abuse at each other for like 2 minutes?
Wadger, I think that's what we've been doing anyway. I think you're
Yeah, and you, Wadger. Like,
We've been hurling abuse
You're
at
not
each
taking
other.
this seriously.
Britain first, and the Conservatives can unite on one front, and that is we don't like whoever's hosting this show.
Have you seen the Labour cabinet? That is like a messed up cabinet. Let's be real here.
I like how they announced a cabinet when it's literally got like 50 vacancies. I found that really funny.
I know.
Well, there is
It's a
only
desperate
Jason
time-
being on the
desperate time
cabinet.
for desperate measures.
there is only 9 seats right now. So what are you gonna do about it?
What does the
Right,
what
Roger, on
does
an
the-
impartial show.
hang on. I've got a question. For a bit of cross-party unity. What does the Prime Minister make of the disgraceful disloyalty of Callum Truss and Organised Owen? What does he make of that?
All right, I'm gonna grab a water.
I mean, I've not had time to actually look at the situation. I was about to ask that myself. What actually happened?
Well, basically, Callum Truss, in all of his high and mighty status as the man who won the Conservatives 10 seats, has decided to basically quit and say that he's needed elsewhere in the group.
God is calling him to the royal.
Those places
Putin
being
position.
the underclerk of the Parliament and also something in the Royal Household Staff, which apparently is more important than Shadow Home Secretary. So as a result, once we heard about this, we fired him and removed his membership from the party.
Right.
And then after that, Organised Owen also.
I saw Organised Owen go, but I'm surprised Swindon hasn't gone as well because he was right up
Swindon?
Callum's arse.
Oi, I'm right here.
He's
I know
here.
you're right here. That's why I'm going to say it.
Look,
Oh,
I
no,
became Callum's leader.
Tio's a
The-
loyal member of the Conservative Party. You'd
Yeah,
never.
Theo
Conservative
has a
Party,
backbone.
not the
Right?
Callum.
He's coming
Yeah,
here. and-
he's a dry, not a wet.
exactly. He's a dry. Yeah.
Right.
We're still using this.
Hold on, we've just had a statement from Dragon Does Pizza. I almost said peanut.
And
Dragon
that's
does
been
peanut.
cancelled from the production office. Let's move on to the next question.
Hold on, hold on. Let's just read this statement from Dragon. Wait. Okay. Look, we'll end this in like 2 minutes, but I just want to like absolutely dump on Dragon.
Also, you
right
can
now.
tell we kicked out the wets because Adrian's backing Callum.
I
Truss
don't
and
like
Organised
these
Owen.
statements. I don't like these statements from people. Number one, Callum did not bring us any worthwhile electoral success. 10 seats is not worthwhile. We've had 10 seats for like this entire year. We literally have gained no seats like since 2023. So them
He's a
coming here and
sharp
saying
man.
that he brought us a great electoral victory is a massive overstatement.
To be fair though, to be fair to him, right? 10
Further.
seats back at the beginning of 2023. Well, 19 seats in fact was like 10 votes, like 13 votes. If you look in the National Archives, nowadays to even get like 5 seats, you need upwards of 15 votes. It's
I'd argue-
Callum is not a valuable asset.
I'd argue that
that.
at the end of the day, we know the Conservatives have the potential to
midnight.
do more than 10 seats, and we need
Yeah.
people in our party that have the caliber to win, not to get second place. That's what we want.
Exactly. The Conservative Party is the party of winners. And he quite frankly just was not a winner, so he had to go.
right. Okay.
As an impartial show host, I can confirm that Callum is not essential to anything.
Well,
And you...
No, I don't get this whole cult of personality that's kind of sprung up around Callum. Like,
Yeah, I was told when I joined Labour that he had a cult of personality around him. I mean,
if this is the kind of man in Project Britannia who gets a cult of personality, like honestly, it's like what's going on here?
it really defines the state of the country right
Okay,
now.
I don't even know if he would have been made an MP. Like,
I'm kind of jealous if Callum has a cult of personality is what Shadow Homesec. I don't even know what his leader.
The queer family's a cult of personality, right? Don't get jealous.
Yeah.
sorry.
yeah, literally,
No,
Yeah,
no, it
the-
is
the-
not.
the new
It is.
Freemasons.
They're like the
Sounds
mafia,
like-
bro. The queer
Some of
mafia.
that.
Half your cabinet are like
The
queers.
Illuminati is the queer family, honestly.
Yes, but there's
You know they go and
queers in the
sacrifice people in
Conservative
foreign.
Party. There's queers in the Workers' Party. It's
Prime
not.
Minister, is the
Not
queer
welcome
family
to
the deep
queers.
state?
I just had to say the minor family came from nothing. Now look
Yeah,
at them, the
facts.
high echelons of power.
The Minor family was a poor mining family. We mined coal
Yeah.
in the north, and now look what we
the
got.
Grantham
Wait, so you have working class origins?
the
That's
Grantham
very
family
true,
also
very
had
true.
a working class origins. We used to fish in Grimsby, so you know.
Yeah. Anyway,
It was
anyway.
very,
on
very,
to-
very
Kobe's
popular.
household.
As I said at the
Official,
beginning of
like-
the show,
I am the high
streamlining
society.
the party, and naturally there's going to be opposition to that streamlining. But I think we're going to come out of this stronger than ever, more galvanized than ever, more united than ever to challenge
Well
Britain's
said.
first at the next
Yeah.
election.
It'll be a great election. It'll be a great
It
election.
will be.
Yeah,
and
I
I
mean-
look forward to the challenge.
Yeah, while you say that, let's just get a comment from Sky and then myself about how we think we could all come out of the next election. Sky, let's hear you after, Eddie's already done his part, so let's hear you, Sky.
Well, I think last election coming into it, we had a lot to prove. We were going up against sort of the well-established parties in Project Britannia, and having
You're in
been-
opposition, but alright. You're in official opposition. You're already an established
Wadger,
party.
stop interrupting the PM. Let
Yeah,
him speak.
please, man, be a host for one.
Okay, thank you, Wadger. Anyway, no, but we were going up against the well-established parties. At the time, we were the newest party until 2 others were registered, and I think sort of we certainly had a lot to prove, and I think as of now, us being in government, we're certainly proving the fact that we are fit to govern. We've completely revived the defence sector. We're on track to revive the Metropolitan Police. We've got the constables there. We've got the policy there for when the new game is released for them to be deployed onto the streets and ensure the streets are safe. We've pushed out media policy. We've done a complete revitalisation of the Ministry of Justice. I mean, this government has done a lot. So I think coming into the next election, we are certainly hoping to stand for re-election as government, and I think what we've achieved so far does sort of, and I hope the British people share this, does sort of show that we are fit to govern and we do want to continue governing.
All right, and I guess I could finish this with me. I believe I'll come out of the next election screaming, crying, and an appointment at the job centre. This has been the British Agenda this week. I'd like to thank our guest, Albert P. Graham.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. The Prime Minister, the leader of the opposition,
Exactly.
Albert Paul Grantham, Rob Stark, and
please
your...
get a new host of the show, please.
It has been an
quite-
absolute honour
I'm
to
going
be
to
on the
host
show
this